Coach S here, and I'd like to take a brief moment to talk about eccentric training. I know a lot of you have been through this in the past and heard it 1,000 times, so I'll try and be quick about this. Here at Windsor, Coach Claire and I are huge believers in the idea of triphasic training. Every sport requires dynamic movement. Every movement is made up of 3 phases: eccentric, isometric, and concentric, thus triphasic. So, in order to give our athletes the best chance of success, we implement a triphasic system. This week, week 2, is our first week of eccentric training. So I'm going to go into brief detail about what that entails. In practical terms, eccentric training mostly relates to change of direction and deceleration. Those are absolutely huge components of sport. In most of our fall sports are team sports where we're in a chaotic environment and you need to react to that chaotic environment. You need to change direction, stop, decelerate. All of those are huge for team sports. And the physiological basis for all of that deceleration, change of direction, is eccentric strength. I actually read a study this past week where they analyzed a bunch of different sports, and in all of the sports except for football, deceleration plays a much more vital role than acceleration, especially soccer. There's more decelerating done in soccer than any other sport. And like I said, the only one that has more acceleration than deceleration is football. So as you can see, deceleration, eccentric strength is going to be key to all of our sports in the fall. People always talk about speed, and rightfully so. Speed is absolutely key for most sports. The saying, speed kills, I believe that. But deceleration and eccentric strength play another vital role. The ability to stop quicker than your opponent creates as much space as straight ahead speed. So once again, eccentric strength, deceleration is going to help create space on the field, or depending on what position you play, to negate that space. So absolutely critical to athletic performance. I like to put it in terms of cars. You wouldn't get into a car without brakes. Why would we create athletes without brakes? And the more powerful your engine, the stronger your athlete, the more powerful your brakes need to be, the stronger your brakes need to be. So that is what we try to accomplish with eccentric strength. Now that's a little intro to what eccentric strength, the importance of it. So I'm going to talk about how we train it. And like I said, these first 2 weeks are going to be dedicated to that. One of the primary ways that we accomplish this is by varying the tempo of our lifts. Tempo pretty much means the speed of it. So if you go to your workout sheet, which you should have provided to you this week, you're going to see a bunch of different columns. After the exercise description, you're going to see columns for sets and reps. This week we're starting you off slow, so the sets, you're going to see 2 sets of everything, and it should be 5 reps of everything. So like I said, starting you off slow, building you up. We're getting you ready for the season, not the summer. Starting with repetitions, that pretty much means that you're going to do the exercise 5 times, since it has 5 under the repetitions. Now, since there's 2 sets, you're going to do the 5 repetitions, and you're going to rest. Rest is key. You're not just going to bust through this workout as quick as you can. So you do your 5 reps, rest, preferably 30 seconds, 45 seconds at least, and then you do your second set. Once you get through both 2 sets, you move on to your next exercise. Now, that's pretty simple, but what a lot of people don't understand what we do here at Windsor is that 3rd column there. That 3rd column is going to say, under this workout, is going to say load. And under that column is going to be a 3-digit code. So for most of the exercises, once you get through the prehab exercises and the sprinting, is going to say either 5-1-X or 5-1-1. Now, that is our code for our tempo. The first number of that is what we're really focusing on this week, is the eccentric component, or the lengthening. So that's pretty much the downward phase of all your lifts. View it that way, you can get it right most of the time. So, like I said, it's going to be a 5. That means you take 5 seconds for that downward phase of the motion. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have a metronome app on your phone, feel free to use that. Anything to make sure you're keeping that time. It's absolutely critical that you get it correct. The next number is the isometric phase. For now, just view that as the pause at the bottom of the moment. So it should be a 1 on all of them, so that means a 1 count pause. And then that third number is the concentric, which we'll get to at the end of our phase. And that's the upward motion. And that's either going to be an X or a 1. X means pretty much explode. So you're going up as fast as possible. If it has a 1 there, it means you're going up quickly but under control. So pretty much 1 second up. So that's our tempo. And with that time under tension, in that 5 seconds, we're building that eccentric strength to enable you to stop, change direction, what you need to do on the field. Even with cross country, where there's not too much change of direction, going downhill on courses requires a huge amount of eccentric strength, especially on the quads, to endure that pounding.
Coach Claire here. We're starting on week 2 now. As you recall now, if you went through week 1, it was strictly an isometric body weight exercise. This week we actually start to move weights, or actually move our bodies with some resistance. And as Coach S was saying, we're going to do a muscle lengthening type exercise, an eccentric program for the next 2 weeks. Invariably, whether we're here in the weight room or even outside it, athletes are constantly asking me, well, Coach, how much weight should I use? What I like to tell them is I use a basic 3 to start to think about how much weight to use. Number 1, and we talked about this last week, proper form. Without proper form, whether the weight's heavy or light, you're not going to benefit from the exercise. So that's priority 1. Priority 2 is do the workout as it's written for you. In other words, as Coach was saying earlier, 2 sets, 5 reps, follow the tempo. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but 1, 2, 3, and so on. Those 2 things are paramount. Proper form, do the workout as it's written. Then we start to talk about resistance or weight. Use as much weight as you can while still maintaining number 1, number 2. Proper form, proper tempos, proper number of reps and sets. Now that being said, working at home, we don't have a lot of the fancy equipment that you see here in our fitness center. So what do? Well, there's a lot of things you can do. Some of them are pretty much things you may know about, but let me throw some things out at you today as possible options to weight that you can use right at home. I'm going to reach down and grab one of my first ones, as simple as a can of soup. A can of soup provides some minimal weight, but it's a great starting point as you're just getting into these kinds of exercises to make sure that your form is correct. This can be used particularly with a single leg squat that you'll see in your workout. I'm going to demonstrate that for you here, and proper reps and proper tempo. So number 1, we'll have a good leg spread here. I want my front leg to be on my heel. I won't be on my toe. You'll also notice as I do this, my back will be up nice and straight. I'll have my can of soup in the opposite hand to the forward leg. In other words, if my left leg is forward, soup is in my right hand. Now I'm going to start my eccentric exercise, going down slowly. Remember, we're lengthening the muscle. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. I pause, as Coach said, for a 1 count and come up. It's that simple. And repeat that the given number of repetitions. But the soup will start to give you a little bit of resistance. Now, some of us need much more resistance than that. What do? How about just a big jar of spaghetti sauce that you might have around the house? There's a lot more weight here. It's almost 2 pounds. So it adds a little bit of weight. We can go even heavier. I've got an empty jug of milk. Now what you can do with this is you can fill it with water. One of the neat things about these empty jugs is you can also use less water, and you can gradually increase your weight over the weeks by adding water. Even go with a big gallon jug. Again, it's about setting a weight that works for you, as long as priority 1 form and priority 2, following the exercises, are important. Other things that you can use, as simple as an old sock. This is one of my old beaters. You can fill this with rocks, with stones, with sand, with anything. And that also makes a weight that you can even put over your shoulders if necessary, if you had a big sock, in regards to doing a full squat, a full body squat. All right, that's possible too. One of the things that many people also have around their house are just simple things like bungee cords. Bungee cords make great resistance, particularly when we're doing eccentric exercises. I'm going to again demonstrate a little bit with that single leg squat, how you can use a bungee cord with that too. And we'll talk about different ways to vary it too in a minute. First of all, it's real important with these cords that you make sure they're very secure, whether they're under your foot or in your hand. You don't want them snapping. So I'm going to place this bungee cord under my foot right here, and I'm going to make sure it's really secure. Now again, I can vary the resistance by shortening my grip on the cord. I can get really a lot of resistance by shortening my grip, or I can start easy here. Again, I've got my right leg forward here, and I'll put the resistance on that leg. And again, I will drop slowly. You'll feel the resistance actually lighten as you do your single leg squat. Your weight is still on your heel. The arm is straight. My back is straight. And then I pause after my 5 count and come up. And there's your resistance there. And I'll let go of that there. Again, you can use a variety of lengths if you have them. And you can shorten the lengths by shortening your grip. We're going to be doing push-ups too. These bungee cords are great to help you get some resistance with your push-up work, particularly your concentric, as Coach was saying, when you're coming up. By just putting it over your shoulders, and these on my hands here, then doing my push-ups. I won't get on the floor today to do that. But again, you can see where I'm going to feel a lot of resistance as I'm lengthening the muscle coming down, pausing, and then again, going hard forward. So bungee cords work really great. I'll even suggest bicycle inner tubes. Some of you guys really want to add some strength to what you're doing, or some resistance, I should say, to what you're doing. A bicycle inner tube is a tremendous way of doing that. All right? What we're going to do is continue to talk about how we can increase your load. For many of you, these might be a little bit light. We can continue to add to it. One of the things I think all of you have is a backpack. What a perfect piece of apparatus to add resistance to your exercises. By just throwing a whole bunch of books or a load in the backpack, strapping it on your shoulders. Perfect resistance for a full body squat. Once again, as we talked about doing it eccentrically, I've got a load on my back, just like a bar on my shoulders. I'm again driving my hips back, heels are flat on the floor, going down 3, 4, 5, pausing, coming up. All right? That can work real well for you. And again, a lot of your exercises, just doing your push-ups with a backpack on your back adds a tremendous amount of resistance to what you're doing to get your workouts in. You really want to go crazy? Try a gym bag. Really load that up too. Just something as simple as that, with a lot of books, whatever inside it, adds much more resistance to what your workout, to your workout. Lastly, what I want to cover is using even just bags. Just bags for your workout, as simple as a kitchen bag or a heavy-duty trash bag. Filling those up with weight holding them even here to do a squat, wrapping them over your shoulders when they're full to do your squats, your push-ups, can add a tremendous amount of resistance to your workouts. I always use the trusty duct tape when I do those kinds of when I make those kinds of weights to make sure that the bag is secured and the weights aren't falling out when I'm in the middle of my workout. So those are just a few items that I would suggest you start using to get your resistance. Once again, I'm going to remind you of our three top focuses to make sure this is effective. Make sure your form is proper. Make sure you're following the workout right to a T. Tempo is perfect. Get your reps, and then make sure you've got the right weight. It's okay to adjust weight, go up or down, as long as you have those top two locked in for yourself. You'll get a good workout. You're going to have a great start for this fall, and we'll see you next week.